The Consulting Success podcast is powered by the Clarity Coaching Program. If you'd like to work directly with the Consulting Success team and receive personal coaching and support to optimize and grow your consulting business, marketing, and revenue, visit consultingsuccess.com to find out more and apply.
Welcome to the Consulting Success Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Zapersky. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into the world of elite consultants, where you'll learn the strategies, tactics, and mindset to grow a highly profitable and successful consulting business. Hey everyone, it's Michael Zapersky, and today I'm here with Sarah Borders. Sarah, welcome.
Hi, great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. I'm excited for this. So, Sarah, you are the principal consultant, the founder of your firm, Benefits Compliance Solutions. You're an authority in the employee benefits and kind of compliance industry. You have over 15 years of experience helping clients to navigate the burden of compliance, and your expertise is really about helping clients to, essentially eliminate, or as much as possible, eliminate their compliance exposure, which can save them a lot of money, in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars in potential fines. So before we get into what you're doing today and how you've been building your business, and it's been a real joy and pleasure to watch you building your business, take us back to the beginning. Like, how did you get into the field of compliance?
So it's been an interesting ride for sure. So in 2006, I needed a job and I started working for an insurance broker, and I worked there while I went to school at night, and I kind of moved up throughout the company. And when the ACA came into law, the Affordable Care Act, I actually turned from just helping clients with their benefits to actually working with them on becoming compliant under that law. So since about 2010, I have been strictly focused on compliance for employer clients.
Got it. And then, so it was in, I guess, March of 2019 when you started BCS, your company?
That's right.
What kind of made you, or what spurred that decision to leave the corporate world, the quote unquote safety and security of a job, to start your own business? Was that something that you were thinking about for a long time, or did this kind of hit you one day and you're like, yeah, I want to do this? Kind of take us back to, like, how did that come about?
So it's a really interesting story. My husband he always wanted to be an entrepreneur, kind of a tech entrepreneur. And he had a couple of startups that really didn't go anywhere. And so I was always going to be the one to have the job and let him launch into his software adventure. Well, I actually started to get an idea for something I was seeing in the market that wasn't being done within my corporate job. And also, I really wanted to have a way to work from home where I wasn't driving in traffic. And I live in Austin, and so there's really terrible traffic here. And I wanted to find a way to be able to work from home and to be able to fill this niche that I kept seeing. So I had this kind of wild idea. I had a dream one night, really. And I expressed it to my husband that I have this idea, and he said, wow, I think that could work. And so from there, I just started talking to people in my network, seeing if I had something here, is this something you would actually pay for? Is this a problem for you? And lo and behold, I had an idea that seemed to be something that people would actually purchase.
So talk to us then about, take us through the transition. How long was it from the time that you first had that idea, that dream, right? You told Tyler, and we'll talk about Tyler as well coming up a little bit. But so you had that dream. How long was it from the time that you had that dream to when you actually left your job?
It was short. It was about 6 months.
Okay. All right. So you thought through it for 6 months. You finally made the leap. And then was there a reason that you made the leap at that 6 month or so mark? Was it about building up a certain amount of cash in the bank, or was it about what was going on in the work environment, or kind of how did you decide on that timeline?
The timeline had everything to do with when our bonuses came out at work. And also it just aligned with how many interviews I wanted to do before I jumped ship. So I met with many different possible clients and people that would ultimately purchase or work with me. And I wanted to interview at least 20 of them. And I think I ended up interviewing about 30 of them, just over coffee or lunch or phone call, whoever would talk to me. And so it just aligned where my job was kind of coming to a point where I could leave financially. And I had done enough interviews to know that I had some business waiting for me to start.
I mean, you just hit on something that's so important, yet very few people do, which is take the time to have those conversations with prospective clients before, you even know exactly what you're doing, like just kind of going out there and do it. And this is something that I've really enjoyed as we've worked together, just seeing kind of your spirit of taking action. Like, you soak something up and then you start to apply it. But take us back to that time. Like, you wanted to talk with 20 or so different potential clients. How did you actually do that? For someone who's listening, watching, going, okay, that makes sense, but like, how do I approach people that I don't even know? What did you do? Just kind of take us through that process.
Yeah, it's a great question. I actually had somewhat of a network in my community here. So I reached out to insurance brokers or my clients ultimately. And so I reached out to people that I knew in my network because I am a part of a professional association, people that I had worked with before, people that I had interviewed with just over the years for jobs. And that was a nice size of people. And what I did was I reached out to them, whether it was on LinkedIn or by email, and I said, hey, I am thinking about leaving my job and I want to know if I could pick your brain. That's all I asked. And I said, would you be willing to meet me for coffee? I'd be happy to take you to lunch. And almost every single person said, absolutely, of course. I love the entrepreneurial spirit. They were more than willing to help. Now, there were a lot of people that I didn't know, too, that actually were willing to speak with me. And I found them on LinkedIn, also through introductions from the people that were willing to meet with me. And I was able to get outside of my known network and meet with people over Zoom or a phone call that didn't live in my area and that I didn't know previously. So it was kind of easy to get people to talk to me, actually, surprisingly easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's always interesting is that I've had the same experience. Like, I remember when I was first getting this podcast started back in the day and reaching out to people who had, in my mind at that time, this is going back now 10 or so years, like really big name people. And I was like, well, why would they want to talk to me and, so forth. But then you just start reaching out and all of a sudden people are saying yes. And then that just leverages to be able to talk to more and more people. So it sounds like you were just saying to people, kind of pick your brain. Can I ask you a couple of questions? Is that really what you were doing, or was there some fancier wording going on?
That's literally the kind of language I used because I didn't want them to think that I was trying to sell them something or that I had some kind of ulterior motive. So I was pretty clear about my intentions and that I wanted their insight. I really valued their insight and their expertise and what they were seeing out there. And they were more than willing to provide that type of knowledge and expertise that they had.
So, okay, you made a decision so you had some great feedback from those initial conversations. Was that kind of the validation that you needed to take the next step in terms of just hearing from people that, yeah, you're onto something here?
It was very validating, was very encouraging. And through these sort of interviews, I would call them, I was able to identify needs that I didn't know previously. Even with my idea, it has changed since that original idea. I am still doing some of the original idea, but it is also morphed into things that I didn't really understand were a need until they told me they were a need. So a lot of information came out of those interviews.
Yeah, everyone, like, this is so important, right? Whether you think of it as interviews or just conversations, this is why you got to have more of them. This is why you don't want to hold back and just, try and wait to make everything perfect, because as Sarah's sharing right now, right, you're getting to receive so much valuable feedback, whether it's positive and it validates what you're thinking, or if it opens up your eyes to something different, or even if it's counter to what you're thinking, but it's better to know of that sooner rather than later. So let's fast forward just a little bit now, Sarah. So you're getting that validation, you're deciding to make that leap. So now you go out on your own. It's just you or in the early days. And how do you go and get your first client? Like, what do you do? Where does that first client come from?
So the first client came from one of the interviews that I did, because this guy told me, if you do that, I will be your first client. I need your help. And I said, are you sure? And he said, I promise. And he did. He was my first client. And I also had this was an interesting idea, actually. I had a conversation with someone that I didn't think would be a client at first, but they were in the industry. They were a vendor. They were not an insurance broker, but they were a vendor. And they posted something on LinkedIn asking about a job for some position they were looking for. And I said, hey, would you like to have a conversation? Because I think I can help you fill the need without having to hire somebody to do it. And so we had this conversation, and it turns out that the solution they were looking for, it was a better fit to actually have me help them than to hire a full-time employee. And it was a win-win for both of us. So they were my second client. So it just came out of those conversations and just trying things to see if they would stick, basically.
And so for you then, kind of like in the early days of your business, what was the biggest challenge or like biggest kind of concern or the hardest part for you in the early days?
The early days, the most challenging part was to actually be rejected. People telling me, this is not for us. We've selected some other solution. You know, I like what you're doing, but I don't see the value in it. Maybe they weren't so direct, but the rejection was the hardest part. And it still is to this day, something I struggle with. But that was definitely different than a full-time job.
So talk to us more about that. Like, I think a lot of people have that exact same concern or fear, right? Just like rubbing up or just slamming into rejection, right? In their face. And it's not fun. But what would you say that you've learned about it? Like, how do you mentioned that it's still something that is maybe not the most comfortable for you to confront, but you've made progress with it, right? Your business has grown significantly since the early days. What would you say that you've learned about rejection? Like, how do you kind of mentally process it or think about it that maybe is different from how you first thought about it?
I think the way that I first thought about it is I tied a yes or a no to my worth as a person. I felt like I was a failure if they rejected me. And if they hired me or decided to work with me, I was the greatest thing ever. It was just a roller coaster of emotions. And it was exhausting, really, from day to day, having these highs and lows like that. So I learned from that I'm not that good and I'm not that bad. And that some people are going to want to work with me. And if I talk to enough people, I'll get some really great clients. And some other people just aren't a fit. And it's not tied to my own worth. And I just have to keep going. I have to not let it slow me down. I have to continue doing the things that are uncomfortable. And by doing things more often that are uncomfortable, they become normal and not as uncomfortable. And I'm not as scared to do them if I do them consistently. Those are some big lessons, just life lessons that I learned.
That is so powerful. I want to encourage everyone to like go back, rewind, just listen to that again, because it's so true, right? It's figuring out how to detach yourself from what the outcome is and rather just kind of getting focused more on the process, the journey. And as you do that, then you're able to take more action. And as you take more action and you apply the learnings and lessons of what you're encountering to optimize and to strengthen, then you start just seeing better and better results. It's the people who can't detach themselves, who essentially thinking, yeah, whether I'm successful or not is about me as a person. And that holds them back from actually continuing to take action, that holds them back from growing their business. So I'm really glad that you shared that there, Sarah. Talk to us a little bit about, before coming to our Clarity Coaching Program, you went through the Momentum Program. And I'd love just for you to kind of talk a little bit about like, where were you at as a business person, like as an entrepreneur? What was your mindset? What were you kind of like looking for before deciding to sign up for the Momentum Program? While we work with a lot of seasoned and experienced consultants here at Consulting Success, I'm often contacted by new early stage consultants. Invariably, the question I'm asked is, what are the steps I should take to become a successful consultant and grow my consulting business to my first 6 figures per year? Well, I'm excited to announce that we've opened the doors for our Momentum program. This is our most popular program for early stage consultants, and it has helped almost 1,000 consultants to start, run, and grow successful consulting businesses. It gives you the step-by-step plan to help you with your messaging, your fees, and pricing strategies, how to win more proposals, how to go to market more effectively, developing a marketing system to generate leads consistently, and so much more. And right now, until September the 19th, you can sign up for Momentum and get 50% off the regular price by going to consultingsuccess.com/audio. That's consultingsuccess.com/audio, AUDIO. Only 100 spots are available to join Momentum and get 50% off. This deal is only available until September the 19th or until all 100 spots are gone. We won't be opening up new spots in this program for several months, so don't wait. Go to consultingsuccess.com/audio. That's consultingsuccess.com/audio, AUDIO.
Well, I was looking for how to charge hourly fees. I remember doing an internet search about how much to charge, how do you know, and your website came up and described a lot of how I was feeling at the moment, lost, unsure of myself. How do you charge? And I read one of your blogs about value-based fees. And I thought, wow, that's brilliant. Because I don't like being charged by the hour for things. Like our CPA charges by the hour. We try to use him as little as possible because of it. So immediately I was drawn to that. And so I started the Momentum program. I think I was one of your first clients, Momentum. But I was able to get a really good foundation and just sit there and kind of almost take the course and write notes and just go through some exercises in my mind about how to start this business, how I would make money and how I would be successful and how I would make my clients successful. So it was really powerful for me to get that foundation before I started coaching.
Hey, it's Michael here, and we'll be right back to the podcast. But first, are you ready to grow, scale, and take your consulting business and marketing to the next level? If so, our Clarity Coaching Program may be a great fit for you. You'll work with our experienced team to set up a strategic plan for your business and coach you step by step in areas like how to consistently attract more leads, develop a magnetic message that resonates with your ideal clients, strategically package and position your services, earn higher fees, win more proposals, and scale your business. To find out more about Clarity Coaching and apply, go to consultingsuccess.com and click on coaching.
I remember when you transitioned from Momentum into Clarity Coaching. I remember like one of our first conversations. I don't think it was the first, it might have been like the second or the third, but I was asking you, okay, like give me some progress and how have things been going. You started telling me about, you were making phone calls and reaching out to people. And I remember just thinking like, wow, it's like Sarah's gonna be successful. There's no doubt in my mind because you're committed to taking action, right? And so many people, they learn, right? They want information, but they don't implement on that information. And you've done that so well. And your business continues to grow and it'll continue to grow even from here, beyond. But what I'm interested in asking this question, Sarah, is where does that come from? Like, where is that hunger or commitment or kind of dedication or the ability to implement and to face fears? Because, you just mentioned a minute ago that rejection is not something that you enjoy and very few people do, but yet you are still making phone calls. Like a lot of people are scared of the quote unquote cold call, but you were picking up the phone and calling people, you were sending emails, you were doing lots of follow-up. Where does that come from inside of you? Like, is that something you've always had, or is that something that you've kind of cultivated since you started your business?
I think it comes from, one is I kind of burned the boats. I'm not going back to a corporate job. So I have to make myself do these things that are uncomfortable. And I think we have to understand the why. We hear about that with Simon Sinek, understanding the why. Why am I doing these things? And why do I want this business? Why am I willing to work so hard for it? And I think it's a combination of just wanting that lifestyle, wanting my family secure, wanting to make sure that I bring that to the table for the people that depend on me, like my son and my husband. But also I've learned in my life through many hard trials that consistent action leads to very impressive results. And I'm not saying impressive for me, but just consistent small action over and over and over again creates very successful outcomes. It's not the big giant actions, the little small everyday actions that add up and become the things that you dream about. That really is what it is. I know that somehow. I have internalized that principle.
That's awesome. So you started off making the transition from corporate to consultant. You went through the Momentum program and started to kind of get some of the foundational, components of building a successful consulting business. And then I remember you came into Clarity. It still was just you, right? And now you're starting to get clear on your messaging, your pricing, your offerings, the marketing piece. But then something else happened not too long ago, which is that your husband, Tyler, left his job and joined you in the business. I've seen multiple times with clients over the years, and it always makes me smile because it's a sign, one of success, of progress, but also just the ability to work with a spouse or a partner or whatever it might be in that manner. So just, can you talk a little bit about kind of the goal or how that happened, why it happened? Like, why did Tyler want to leave his job to join you? Just kind of share a little bit about that.
Well, it's a great story because I mentioned before that he was supposed to be the entrepreneur. He was supposed to be, the next tech big thing. And I was the one that started the business. So he had this drive to be in business for himself and an entrepreneur. And so when I started the company, it was always in our future for him to leave his job. He would give me a bit of a runway to start it up. And then he would leave his job at the right time and we would be in business together. And he would kind of take over some aspects of it. And so we have always been very goal-oriented people and have kind of been taking bold action, little small actions like that. And we decided in April of this year, 2020, right during when COVID hit, that it was time for him to leave his job. That was what we had decided to do. And we decided to go ahead with it because in my industry, fortunately, my skill set is needed in this pandemic type of world with employers. So he did. He jumped ship in April, and it's been an amazing decision. It's been hard, but it's been the right decision for sure.
Share a little bit more about that. What's it been like working with your husband for everyone else out there who might also be thinking about bringing in a family member in whatever kind of format that is? Like, what have been some of the challenges that kind of popped up? And I'm sure I know some of these, not just in terms of working with my cousin Sam, right? You know, we run a family business here, and when you have family working closely together, there's always a bit of a dynamic that you got to kind of work through and learn. But like for you, what's come up? What have you guys kind of encountered that's been a bit of a challenge and had a bit of a learning curve?
So what comes to mind is receiving constructive criticism on your work, especially something that you're supposed to be the expert in and that you've been doing by yourself for a year. The constructive criticism can be hard to take. And so kind of delineating, okay, we're business partners right now, and at 5 o'clock we become husband and wife and parents to our son. So that's been a challenge to kind of create that business relationship with somebody that I live with and share my life with. The other thing is that we have kind of a small condo, and we have been basically on top of each other during this time. And so finding ways that we can work quietly and have that time alone to think and to plan and to dream has been kind of a challenge, but we've been working through it.
On the first one there about like the constructive kind of feedback, some people call it constructive criticism, but what's been the mindset shift that you've adopted that's maybe helped you to process that kind of feedback better?
We've had a lot of conversations about it. I think one of the things that really was helpful was your speaker that you introduced us to, Ryan Gottfredson, who talked about mindsets and open and closed mindsets, and that we typically don't think that we have a closed mindset when we do. And so I took that little quiz and I was able to see, yeah, I have kind of a closed mindset, especially when this is my baby and I have the contacts and they're paying for the work that's in my head, trying to realize, okay, I'm being very closed-minded. He has ideas that are awesome and I need to listen to them. And so just being aware of it, I even have a card on my desk here that says, are you being closed-minded or open-minded? So that I can remind myself to kind of check my attitude and my behavior and be willing to listen to his great things that I'm never going to think of. So it's just taken kind of some discipline and some little bit of soul searching for myself.
I think a lot of people run up against that, even when you're not working with a family member. Just, you know, being open to receiving feedback when that feedback isn't positive and processing it, you know, can be a challenge, but pretty liberating once you kind of make peace with it, right? Because then you can improve a lot more. So I'm glad you shared that. And I'm just, you know, on that kind of learning and teaching from Ryan, it's gotten such great feedback from so many clients like yourself. This is for everyone listening. We ran a virtual mastermind a little while ago, a few months back for some of our clients. And we brought in a few different speakers that were amazing. And Ryan was one of them. And yeah, his work and around mindset is so powerful. So I'm glad to hear that you put it to action again. So Sarah, let's talk to me a little bit about like where you are right now with the business. If you compare kind of the stage where you're at to the early days, what do you feel like you've made the most progress on? What to you is like a lot clearer? What do you feel more confident compared to, you know, call it even 12 months ago?
I think I am more confident in asking for the business than I used to be. I know that I have a valuable service that people can use and save time and save a lot of heartache and expenditure by working with me, because I've seen it play out. I've seen it work for others. So I have that confidence to really be more bold and ask for the business when maybe I would have shied away from it a year ago. I've also been much more willing to fail fast, so to speak, to try something, see that it's not really working, it's not resonating, and to either drop it or change it up a little bit. I also am a lot more confident in our process because we've spent the last, 18 months just sort of trying to figure out what is our process, what is the thing that people want, what is helpful, what is different than the market, than everybody else is doing. And we also are looking ahead to possibly selling our business one day and what that process would be that would be found valuable.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah. Looking forward to talk with you about that. I have some ideas and thoughts for you that we can chat about later, but that's really, really great. I'm just thinking about, you mentioned that you burned the ships, right? There was no going back. And I'm guessing that based on where you are right now in your business, the growth that you've had, the success, the learnings, the experience, do you ever think at all about, oh, it'd be nice to go back?
No.
Good.
I would say the one thing though that I do think about and miss is the working with a team that's doing the same thing I'm doing and having those people to bounce things off of. But I have tried to recreate that with my network and get on the phone with people that I don't necessarily work with hand in hand, but we do similar things and we can kind of, bounce things off one another.
Fantastic. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on here today. And I want to make sure that people can learn more about you and your work and what you and Tyler are up to over at BCS. So where's the best place for people to go?
Please look me up on LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, Sarah Borders, CEBS, and I have a little light bulb behind my name, so I'm easy to find. And also you can check out my website at benefitscompliancesolutions.com.
All right, Sarah, thanks so much again.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Success Podcast. For more episodes and to subscribe, rate, and leave a review, head on over to iTunes. And if you'd like to develop consistent lead flow and a highly profitable consulting business, learn more about our coaching programs at consultingsuccess.com.